Maralee Burnett. I am your astrologer, and I am back again with the messages for the week of March 24th, which of course is going to lead us into the new Moon Solar Eclipse in Aries. That's going to be a big one. Now, if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on all of my content, please consider clicking on that subscribe button below. And if you like what you hear today, I would love it if you'd share this with somebody else. I always appreciate feedback and comments as well. So let me know what you're thinking about the new moon solar eclipse. As we get to that, which is on Saturday, I'll do the breakdown by sign to give you an idea of what you might expect during this time. But of course, this is very much about your fated path and journey, because eclipses are about the north and south node. And those of you that have energy around that 9 degrees where this is happening in the sign of Aries are going to feel this the most. Others, it's going to depend on your personal chart, and what you're working on are your nodes in Aries and Libra, for instance. Then again, you're going to have quite the impact. But of course, if you want to know more, you can work with me. I have Eclipse special offer pricing. You can go out again to my website, maraleeburnett.com, sign up for a session there. And you can also just read all of my written content that's out there as well. So of course, I have an article about the solar eclipse with a little breakdown by sign as well. And then, of course, I just channel whatever it is that comes to me as I do these sessions. So you never know what I'm going to say, and neither do I. So tune in and let's have a little bit of fun as we break it all down. Now, if you want to know what software program I use, it's Astro Gold. I have the program for Mac. You can get this on your phone, on your tablet, if you want to do your own little mini astrology readings as well. And it's really pretty affordable on those platforms as well. Now, on Monday, as we kick things off, we're going to be talking about the fact that it's Mercury Cazimi time again. Now, Mercury and Venus are always within 4 signs of the sun. They never get very far, and that's because they have such a tight orb around the sun, right? They can't get too far away from the sun. But right now, of course, we're seeing Venus, the sun, and Mercury all pretty close together in the sign of Aries, where we're about to experience the eclipse. And this can cause, breakthroughs, aha moments, because it's Mercury, right? Mercury rules the mind. It rules communication. In Aries, it's our individual thoughts, our way of thinking, our way of speaking up for ourselves. And when it's Cazimi, right, this is Mercury's, the planet, the energy associated with it, the behaviors, right? Those are getting cleansed by the sun. So it's a little bit like an eclipse, right? Where this block to communication can get removed, blocks to independence. So we'll see what big event may happen. And for some, this can make you very individually anxious. So you want to think about anytime you have Mercury and the sun conjunct, since Mercury rules the mind, and then you have a flashlight, more like a floodlight, on your mind, this can disrupt your sleeping a bit on Monday. Of course, even over the weekend leading up to this event, things can feel a little unsettled. Your dreams can be a little intense, because Aries, of course, is the energy of Mars, a warrior. You might have dreams about fighting and battles of some kind. So just know that it's just good old Mercury Cazimi. Don't let it overwork your mind too much. And I always recommend for people who have a busy mind that you do things like brain games, puzzles before you go to sleep, so that you exercise and work your mind out so that you're tired. It's tired and you can go to sleep. And if you have a problem that you need your mind to solve while you're sleeping, give it an assignment before you go to sleep. It works, guarantee you. All right, so that is Monday, a big energy already, just with the Cazimi. Then this is the energy that I've been watching for a while that I'm cautious about, and I want people to be careful. because when we have Chiron, which is wounds to ourself in Aries, squaring with Mars, ruler of Aries, and Cancer, right? The body, moon, self, care, and nurturing, that our ability to take care of ourselves is challenged by some kind of wound. And something needs change. There needs to be some kind of an adjustment. And there's accidents that can happen. So travel carefully. Be careful yourself. Don't climb ladders, without a spotter, right? This is just not the time to be taking risks. And you're going to see this stays with us for several days. And again, people, because it's Aries energy, can overreact, and they can overreact in a violent way. So we just need to be really careful this week. And of course, we're in eclipse energy, which can be violent as well. So just try not to take the bait if somebody is baiting you, literally. Don't get involved in big arguments unless there's one that you've been meaning to have for so long that you don't care about the outcome. It's just not the time. It's the time to stand up for yourself and speak up, but it's not the time for battles because they will not end well. So I don't recommend it. I recommend you make notes, decide what you want out of whatever conflict that you're in, and maybe let this week and this eclipse energy bypass you, and then deal with it when you're feeling less heated, because there's a lot of heat going on with Venus, the Sun, Mercury, and Chiron here, and the ruler of Aries, Mars, making contact with Chiron. So just take a breath before you do anything that you'll regret. Okay, so we're starting off with some exciting energy on Monday. Let's move ahead to Tuesday. All right, and as we move to Tuesday, the only thing that I'm really calling out here is we're seeing Neptune here in Aquarius speaking in harmony with that Mercury that's just been cleansed by the sun, right? So now with the energy of Pluto empowering you, right? This is you feeling empowered, feeling reborn, refreshed, renewed, the way you think, right? The way you speak and communicate. There is something and someone who may speak up today against, older authority figures, for instance. And that Pluto energy can make you feel stronger than you are. So again, don't go charging off. Don't go attacking people, especially who have wronged you in the past, because this is Mercury retrograde. But think about ways that you can improve your communication. You can improve your thinking. You can use this energy to, rewrite a book that you've been working on forever, right? And revive it and bring it back to life. This is a great time to join groups, right? Which is Pluto in Aquarius. And those groups help you to feel empowered and strong. So something to consider in how you want to use that energy as we move into Tuesday. And again, I'm just going to say, still, Chiron is still squaring to Mars, so we're continuing to be very careful as we move into Tuesday. And I'm going to kind of move as quickly so I can spend more time talking about the actual eclipse. So let's move ahead into Wednesday. So here we're seeing Venus getting ready to end her review period in the sign of Aries. So it was back on March 1st when Venus was at 10 degrees of Aries that the review period began. And so now the review period about what do I love, what am I passionate about, is about to come to an end. And then as it moves into Pisces, we're back to dissolving those things that are keeping us from being who we are meant to be, loving who we want to love, right? And that is all tied into this eclipse energy as well. So this storyline of this eclipse is interwoven, of course, with both this Venus and this Mercury retrograde, because they both started at almost the exact point, 10 degrees of Aries, and the eclipse is happening at 9. So this isn't separate work we're doing. This whole year is just a quilt. It's a woven blanket of energy that keeps working with other energy. It's such an intriguing year, that the way things are shifting and changing together and yet on their own. But the storylines keep crossing paths. And here we have one getting ready to cross paths as we look at Venus leaving the sign of Aries and moving back in to Pisces, where Venus will be talking to, on Thursday, Neptune. So when they met before, when Venus was moving forward, Neptune wasn't at this 29 degrees yet, this anaretic degree, this critical degree, the one that I call a test, right? So this is about boundaries, especially in our relationships. It can be boundaries involving money, right? Maybe you're too generous, too giving. Maybe you're too careless with money, right? Your relationship to money. And there's something that Neptune is helping you to dissolve, right? Neptune is known for helping dissolve things. It's also known for connecting us to spirit, to our gifts, right? Our intuition, our emotions, and our musical talent, right? There's so much that's hidden beneath the surface. And here, as Venus and Neptune meet together, some of that, because it's retrograde, is coming up to the surface for us to see. Now, it could be potentially, right? We will learn some secrets involving women and relationships, some secrets involving women and health, right? Music, right? There's all different types of things that can stir up and bring whatever's hidden beneath the surface because of the retrograde motion that's going on, right? That causes a change in direction for the energy. And so because it's normally hidden beneath the ocean, when things churn the ocean waters, which are our emotions, up, then things are brought to the surface so that we can deal with them too. So what are you keeping hidden from yourself? What do you need to deal with? This is the time to do that. And you have until April 12th, where Venus will be spending her time between this 29th and I believe 24 degrees of Pisces. So this is the review period. And then after that, at this full moon Sagittarius, I believe, to look at that, is when this energy is all starting to move things forward for us. So pay attention. You may feel like you're being tested on Thursday and you want to pass the test, right? Because some of this, again, is a part of the eclipse work that's coming up on the weekend. So what do you see and what do you need to let go of because you've now seen it and you can't pretend you haven't and you can't hide it from yourself any longer. All right, that is Thursday. Now, as we move into Friday, what you see, of course, is still Venus with Neptune. And now here comes the moon, which will have had a conversation with Saturn. When I always say, I feel like the moon's the best messenger, right? It's our emotional messenger. And when it talks to Saturn, it's getting some instructions on what to do with all these feelings, on how to create better boundaries with our feelings, how not to overshare with people. And then it talks to the north node, and it too says, Are you learning these lessons? Are you following the rules that Saturn's given you as you move past me and head on into this conversation? So, very emotional day on Friday. I think we get a feeling of what's coming, which is, of course, the eclipse. And keep in mind, right, this is not an eclipse that's as intense in some ways because of the fact that the North Node is in Pisces, but the moon and the sun will be together in Aries. So we have these lessons about endings, right? With the North Node in the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, and the new beginnings. So again, we cannot get out of this energy of dealing with the past before we can see our future. And so there's something that the moon is showing us on Friday as it talks to all of this Piscean energy that is what we need to finish, what we have to complete, what we're going to have to let go of, what we have to release. And it's told to us through our feelings, through our intuition, through our body. Whatever it is, you want to pay attention on Friday. You want to journal it. You might want to spend time near the water in meditation to connect to what your personal message is all about. So it's a very emotional day when we have this much water energy, and we're obviously dealing with eclipses, which are always intense. So speaking of that, let's take a look. All right, so here it is. We are looking at Saturday. The eclipse does happen exactly at 9 degrees. So let me move this back. All right, so here we are on Saturday. This is the new moon solar eclipse. It's happening in the sign of Aries, and it's exactly at 9 degrees. Rare, no minutes, just 9. 9. The number of endings, completions in a 9 year, which 2025, 5, 2, and 2 is 9, is a year for endings and completions. And so there is something, again, that we have to complete before we can get this what we desire, what we want, what we are passionate about. This is the energy of I, right? Aries is I. Libra across the way is we. But this is about something new for us as individuals. It's about our independence. It's about our ability to fight for ourselves, to stand up for ourselves. And that makes it a bit volatile. And of course, we've just had the sun enter into the sign of Aries with the spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere. So we are all about new things, and we can't get the new thing unless we let go of what's blocking our path. So there is something somewhere in your life, depending on the house that you have this in, that has been holding you back. And what eclipses do, right, is allow the darkness of the sun, our ego self, so that we can see in the dark what it is that's blocking us. And as a result of seeing it, we can let it go. Now that's faded. And that's why when we have eclipse season, all of a sudden our lives change for some of us dramatically, because fate comes in and says, hey, we had a plan. You're supposed to be doing this thing and you're not doing it. And so I'm going to move you back on your path. And so that feels like we've lost something because we have to let go of whatever's holding us back. The tighter we hold on to it, the harder the struggle will be. And then I also see indirectly, right? Because other people's paths affect ours, and changes that happen in their life then open up doors of opportunity for us as well. So it doesn't just happen on the day, right? The sun is a blank slate, just like any new moon. And as the light gains, right, on the sun, on the moon, right, then the opportunities gain as well. So, but this is what kicks it off. This is the last Aries eclipse for the next 19 years. So this is the one, right? If you've been dawdling, if you've been fighting, letting something go, well, the universe is patient for only so long. And so if it's part of your fated path, yes, you have free will, but your nudge will be much stronger at this time if it's something that you absolutely have to move on from. But then once you let it go, that's when the big new opportunities can come in for you. So we also have in Aries, of course, here's Mercury. We've been talking about this. Also retrograde, but now it's back to the 0 point. So this is a reset, right? So this communication, conversation, the way you think, right? What you're reviewing. We've just had Mercury Cazimi. Now we have Mercury at 0 and it's retrograde. We're really resetting expectations as a collective and as individuals. And so that 0 is a reset of some kind, of course, at the same time as we have this eclipse going on. So there is something major changing right now that has to do with war. It has to do with fighting, right? And it has to do with independence. It has to do with passion, anger, frustration, so many things that this can show up as. And you can go back and look to 2006, would have been the last time that you had this type of eclipse, but it wasn't so tied to the past as strongly as this one is. Of course, we always have the past influence from the South Node because that is our past life and past experiences. But this time, the past is coming up strongly because of Mercury and Venus both being daily personal planets that affect our day-to-day lives in retrograde. So there's a heavy, heavy influence on the past. And in the year 2006 in particular, and looking at what was going on that year, those cycles are coming up for completion, for resolution, so that you can level up and not, we need to grow. We're here to grow. We're not here to be stagnant and just keep doing the same thing day in, day out. It's been feeling like that lately because we have so much retrograde energy that we're still working through. Jupiter is still not post its retrograde. Mars is still not post all its retrograde areas either. So we're still reconsidering what we've learned, where we're headed. And there's a lot of the planets that affect our day-to-day lives that are slowing us down. So we have really until this mid-April time frame where, Venus and Mercury will at least stop holding us back, but then we still have some considering to do. So whatever's changing because of this eclipse, it isn't one and done, right? It's something that changes, and then we have a lot to think about. We have to decide what our value system is going to be going forward, because that's Venus. Venus is the things that we put value in. Jupiter's more about our big picture values, but Venus still is, the things that we buy, the jewels, the beauty, right? Pictures, that we value those things, right? That's why we're willing to spend money on them. And that's the question. What do you value enough that you're going to invest in it? Venus, money. So I could go on and on and on about this topic, but just know something's going to happen that really kind of shakes up your foundations and ask the big questions because of this eclipse. So that's what's going on in the Aries energy. And then we still, as I mentioned, are being careful because of the fact that now Chiron has moved to 22 degrees. Mars has moved to 22 degrees. They're still square one another. And 22 is the master builder number. So this tells me something is being torn down. And as a result, something can be rebuilt in its place. Now, Chiron as the story, right? as the mythical creator of healing, right? Was a trainer of the gods and made a great sacrifice and gave up his immortality, right? In order to end his suffering. And so that's what we look at in our lives when we're working with the Chiron energy is, where am I suffering? What is this wound that I carry with me? And Mars is saying, hey, it's time to get off of that, right? It's time to move on from there. Time to let that thing go. And what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up this thing that you carry around with you forever and play the victim? Because Mars thinks you should. So sometimes we need a dramatic wake-up call, and that's why I say you got to be careful about accidents. But whatever gets torn down, it will be rebuilt, and it will be rebuilt stronger. But still, just be careful. Okay, I know, I can't say it enough times. Then we do have some helpful energy that's going on at the same time, also involving that Mars energy in Cancer. And that is the conversation that Mars is having with Saturn. Now, the one positive about Saturn when it speaks to Mars is things don't move too fast or out of control because this Saturn energy gives the brakes. And Saturn controls the pace of Mars. But remember, Mars is not happy in the sign of Cancer. It hates it there, right? It's like, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I don't want to feel anything. And so it acts like a spoiled child. But here you have Saturn, Grandpa Saturn, here's spoiled brat child, and it is getting controlled a bit. But the control also leans here to Uranus. So there is some kind of a shakeup going on. There could be an earthquake, right? And which would tear things down that are weak. And then, of course, they would be rebuilt. Not saying that there absolutely is going to be one, but it's like that, right? Taurus is in Earth sign. But this is positive, right? It's the blue energy of sextiles and trines. But what this triangle gives us is opportunity. And we have to see the opportunity amongst the chaos and then take advantage of it. If we don't act, the energy is not available to us. But again, there is something leaving us at the time of this eclipse, something being torn down and something else being rebuilt in its place. We just have to show up for it. And then, of course, we have all of the Pisces energy that I mentioned as the moon was walking through here. And all of this Pisces energy, Saturn, been there for almost 2 years now, teaching us about boundaries. The North Node's just entered here since January, starting to see if we've learned the lessons that Saturn has been trying to teach us. And if not, it's giving us more. And then we've already talked about this Venus and Neptune conversation. And then it's all about the South Node. So this poor little South Node in Virgo by itself is trying, right, to leverage itself against all of this Piscean energy, all of this watery, emotional energy. And here's the Virgo energy trying to give control and structure and show you how to have the good boundaries. But, water sometimes is very hard to contain, right? Unless you can pour it in a glass, but even the glass can tip over and be spilled. There's no guarantee water will ever stay in its place. And so that's okay, right? And it's also our feelings and our emotions. They're never going to just be fully contained. And if we're not careful, they will spill out everywhere. So this is always the storyline of the North and the South Node. I need to find that middle ground. The one where I allow myself to feel and express my feelings, but I do so in a way that's healthy, right? I'm not a victim. Things don't happen to me. They happen for me. And I can choose different, right? This is about health and mental health, physical health. We have to have both, right? I can't just have an amazing fit body and then not spend any time on my mental health. I will end up getting sick. People, this is what happens to the people that look, oh, they're just look so perfect. Why are they sick all the time? Because they're not dealing with their mental health. So these are the storylines. This is the balance we're trying to figure out. And at the time of this eclipse, that's what we're trying to do. Instead of everybody's emotions being all over the board, there's so many of us that are overreacting to everything. We are stirring the pot. Well, Virgo is saying, okay, I want you to look back. I want you to reflect on the past. When did we have better structure? What happened to all the details? Right now, everything is chaotic, right? Neptune is very fuzzy, foggy thinking. And this energy with Virgo, which Mercury rules over, it's like, hey, let's get back to what the facts are here, right? So this Pisces energy is like, oh, I'm a dreamer, I'm an artist. I don't need the facts. Well, the facts still matter. We can't ignore the artistry, right, of what we're creating. We still have to focus on the details, right? I can't write good music if I don't put the notes in the right order so that the music sounds good. That's how Virgo helps, right? It helps you focus on the details. If my words don't make sense to you in the song I sing, nobody's going to listen to it. That's what Virgo helps us do, right? So we need both. And so at the time of this eclipse, it's both the past that matters and the future. And we're trying to figure that out. And the eclipse is highlighting the need for balance between both. Whew. Man, I'm wordy. All right. So let me break it down by sign. So when you set intentions, right? Because if you follow me, I talk about setting intentions at every new moon. I have hypnosis sessions out there for every zodiac sign. I have a lot of resources to help you set intentions and get in touch with the energy. When it's an eclipse, the only intentions you should be setting are those that remove blocks from whatever it is that you want. So before you're going to get the thing, you have to focus your intentions on, in order for me to have this, show me what I need to release. In fact, that could be the only thing you could put out there and you would be fine. But if you want to do more, right, break it down and say, per these signs, what do I need to release in order to have this thing? And focus in on the house and the sign where you have this in. And of course, come work with me and I can help you through that. But I am doing just general readings here, of course. I base it on whole sign houses, which just puts Aries at 0 degrees, Taurus at 0 degrees, and consider that the whole first house, the whole second house. But yours is different. So wherever you have 9 degrees of Aries and wherever all your personal planets are that are going to be interacting with either these nodes or any of these planets, it's going to have a very unique experience that is just for you. But this will give you some idea on at least what you can focus on letting go of. So let's start with Aries. Aries, of course, this is your new moon, right? You are going through a lot of change right now. As I mentioned, you've had this sun move into your sign. This is a new you. It's your new year. And you've had Mercury Cazimi in your sign. Now you have an eclipse. You're going through some stuff, right? It's about transforming yourself and these blocks that you have to being strong, to being independent, to speaking up for yourself, but not in an abrasive way, right? You're learning how to speak up in a way where you're sensitive to other people's needs and not be so controlling where it has to just be your way. So if you are one of those extreme Aries people, love you, you are going to have to adapt and change. And so you can ask to be shown, what is it about myself that holds me back from being as strong as I am meant to be? And then let that show up for you. Okay. Then we're going to move into Taurus. And Taurus for you, then this is your 12th house. So this is a great time to go out and try any of my hypnosis sessions, but work on the one with Aries. And in the 12th house, you're looking at removing subconscious blocks. So what are you not seeing? What are you not aware of that's holding you back from being, again, as strong as you're meant to be? You're one of the signs that can be very much a people pleaser, right? You also love to overindulge. But is your overindulgence in food, for instance, or is it spending, getting out of control and not healthy anymore? If that's the case for you, then you want to set intentions at this time to remove the blocks that are keeping you from being who you're meant to be, right? To seeing what you've been hiding from for so long, so that you can, again, be set free from it and then be this full, complete person that you are meant to be. All right, let us move into Gemini. And as you look at this Gemini, we're talking about your 11th house. This is your friend groups. So there can be a friend that you have had in your life for a long time that's toxic. And you always give this person a break, make excuses for them all the time. And doing so is keeping you stuck in some way. Now, the other way this can show up for you is you don't have enough friends, and you can ask for help from this solar eclipse energy to remove blocks from you making more friends, to being accepted by your friend group. So it just depends on, of course, your personal experience, how this is showing up for you, but use the energy to help you connect to friends or mentors in a way that's effortless and easy. Always add that in there when you're setting your intentions. Otherwise, the universe can be very literal. So just always want to be careful. All right. Then we have the Cancer energy. And Cancers, for you, this is your 10th house of career, status, reputation, and all those things that are involved in your reputation, which sometimes can be your marriage partner. It could be your father, right? Your family's reputation could affect your reputation. What is it that's holding you back from your highest achievement? Because that's the top of the chart up here is the 10th house, the midheaven. And in order to reach the top of the mountain, you got to let go of something. And it could be a lack of confidence, right? You are one who's very sensitive and takes things very personally, but it's time to let go of the hurt from the past and allow yourself to be the leader that's needed. And if you have this image of being too emotional to lead, well, then you want to work with this energy to reshape that image, at least through the eyes of others, or learn how to express yourself in a way where you are valued for your intuition, and that helps you be a stronger leader. So what do you want to achieve? The 10th house, is it your career? Is it a new career? Is it a change in your career? Is it marriage, a change? Whatever it is, use the energy of this eclipse to remove blocks to you achieving your highest success. As we move on to Leo, so fellow fire sign, so this is energy that works for you and with you, so you want to take advantage of it. It's happening in your 9th house, and so that's the house of growth and expansion. It can be higher education, it could be foreign travel. So let's say you've been wanting to finish your degree, but you keep making excuses. I can't do it. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Right? It's Aries energy. But you can use this eclipse to help remove blocks that are holding you back from achieving whatever this is, right? Whatever growth opportunity you're hoping for and you desire, then this eclipse can remove the blocks out of that ninth house so that you can grow and stop feeling stuck and stagnant. You're a star. You have to let your star shine. So let the energy of this eclipse help you do just that. All right, Virgos, it's a big one for you because of the fact that this eclipse is activating your South Node work. And when the South Node comes into your sign, it's a year and a half where you are learning to let go of your perfectionism, your OCD-ness, and getting more in the flow, right? Instead of having to control everything, you're learning to let go and have faith in the outcomes. And so this can feel very personal for you. You're also maybe reflecting a lot on the past, right? Because you're looking back over the last 19 years and going, well, I guess that's done. But what did I learn? What do I want to take with me? What do I want to leave in the past? And that's what this eclipse can help you do. It's in your 8th house. So blocks to your power, which is an 8th house theme, blocks to intimacy, really good one if you're in a relationship that's feeling stuck and stagnant, blocks to money that comes to you from others, people willing to invest in you. Those are all things that at the end of the day, because it's your 8th house, this is about a huge personal transformation that you're about to go through. And that does mean letting go of everything that you know to be you and starting over. The eclipse might help you take the first step. All right. And then we are on to Libra. Libra, this happens for you in your 7th house. Of course, you are the ruler of the 7th house and marriage and commitments and business partnerships and really close friendships, right? These are long-term relationships that we're talking about when we're talking about Libra energy. So let's assume it's your marriage. Some marriages may have to end. If they aren't meant to be, if they've served their purpose, then the eclipse will end the relationship. For others, if the relationship is meant to continue, then what the eclipse does is show you what's blocking it, remove the blocks. If there's people involved in your relationship that shouldn't be, they can be removed at this time. And if you need to see that there's other people affecting your relationship, they can be shown to you so then you can get rid of them as well. Not physically, but just so that you can have them no longer interfere in your relationship. But that's what you want, right? You want the blocks to having a healthy relationship with good boundaries. That is what you aspire to. Then leverage the energy of this eclipse to remove the blocks to you having the best relationship possible. All right, Scorpios. Scorpio, this is happening in your 6th house. So this is an opportunity to change everything about your day-to-day life. It could be your job, it could be your health, it could be something to do with your pets, things that you do of being of service to others. Whatever toxic parts of your day need to go, now's the time to work really hard to get rid of them. Is it exercise that you don't do? Is it food you eat that you shouldn't? Is it things you drink that you shouldn't? What is it about your day-to-day life that's unhealthy? Leverage this eclipse energy to remove it. Consider it a block, right, to your good health, good physical health here in the 6th house, and get rid of it. And then you have a chance to start something new, create new routines, but create them small. Take baby steps. Don't go from never exercising to saying, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. That's not realistic. So always set goals that are manageable and achievable. All right. Next, we have Scorpio, again, another fire sign. So energy that aligns with you, is supportive. This is your fifth house. It can be blocks to having children. It can be blocks to romance. This can be blocks to your heart. Sometimes it can be a physical block, like you need surgery. So pay attention to your body if it's talking to you. And any blocks to just feeling alive again, right? This is things that you're passionate about and that you love. And so use this energy to remove whatever the block is. Again, maybe for some of you trying to have children, something's blocking you, or some scar tissue in a fallopian tube or something, then this would be the time to leverage this energy to get that taken care of. And maybe the block is just right here. You're doubting yourself. Will I be a good mom? Will I be a good dad? And when we have doubt, we can actually make it impossible for our bodies to let us get pregnant. So what's your block? Is it a block to romance? Are you feeling unworthy and so you don't allow yourself to date anymore? I don't really believe that because you're Sagittarius, but whatever the story is for you, what's blocking you from being yourself, from having the adventure of a lifetime that you always want to have? If you're not being yourself, this eclipse is going to help you get back to that. All right. Then we have this Capricorn energy. Capricorn, it's in your fourth house. So the fourth house is a new beginning involving your home, involving your family, and it could be your mother. It also could be your physical home, right? Your body is your physical home of your soul. And so what part of that is not healthy? Are the relationships in your house not healthy? Is the relationship with your mother not healthy? Is it your relationship with your own physical body? Well, again, you want to leverage the energy of this eclipse to remove whatever the block is so that you feel safe and secure and grounded and most of all, supported. You know, as a Capricorn, you're always out there doing it on your own because you're strong, you're a hard worker. But that's not always healthy. And isolation is not healthy either. So there's something that's blocking you from feeling supported. Deal with it during this eclipse. Aquarius, this is happening for you in your third house. So the third house is the community that you're a part of, which includes like your siblings, your cousins. It is energy about your role in the community. It could have something to do with moving and traveling within your community. And of course, this is where we're learning, teaching is all tied up to the third house. So of course, very unique. What's your experience? What's your challenge? Maybe you have a difficult relationship with a sibling. Well, then you could leverage the energy of this eclipse to help remove blocks to a healthy relationship with your sibling or your cousin. Maybe you don't feel like you fit in the community that you're a part of. So same thing, ask for help removing the blocks that are keeping you from fitting in, from being a part of a big friend group, for instance, because Aquarius, you want a lot of freedom to be yourself, but at the same time, you want to belong to something. So blocks to finding your tribe are a good thing to focus on during this time. All right. And then we have Pisces. So Pisces for you, Aries, of course, as you see right here, is your second house. And of course, you've got the North Node in your sign. So you, like Virgo, are having some serious work done. And it's of the emotional kind, where the Virgo work can be more physical. Yours is emotional. It's mental. It can cause you to have to really face some fears. And in order to grow, right, which is what the North Node is saying, right? We are given lessons in order to grow into who we are meant to be. If it was easy, right, we'd all do it naturally, but we don't. So the North Node is another aspect, energy that teaches us lessons. And those lessons are based on the past, Virgo, needing control, and North Node and Pisces having faith, having more faith. So what are you doing to try to control outcomes too much? And where do you need to let go and have more faith? Well, it seems like it has to do with money because this is happening in your second house of the money you make. It also has to do with your self-worth. And I guarantee you, if you have any issues with self-worthiness, you are struggling financially. They go hand in hand. And so anybody who always says, what's happening? I keep saying it's you. You're doing something. There's some false belief. There's some subconscious belief that you're hanging on to that's blocking you from having all the financial abundance that you deserve. And we all deserve it. So use this, if you're struggling financially, to be shown what's holding you back and to help you experience the financial abundance that you deserve. All right. Now, as you listen to this, listen for your sun, your moon, your rising, and then consider listening to the sign that has the North Node Virgo house information for you. So if I was Aries and the North Node is in my 12th house, well, I'm listening to Taurus's message because there's little bits of information there about what this North Node might be doing for me. So literally, you might just want to listen to all of the signs because there's a little bit of information for you. It can get a little complicated, but listen to what resonates for you because whatever I have said, it will ring a bell for you. And then you'll know that's the work that you should be doing. And then you don't have to know your chart at all. You just have to listen to your intuition. All right. So there we go. That is Saturday. That's the new moon solar eclipse. And especially over the next 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of changes. Then let me get back here, move on to Sunday, which will be the 30th. We're seeing now that Mars is starting to get a little farther away from Chiron. So while it's still creating a square, the intensity of that square is starting to lessen just a bit. So just again, still continue to be careful, but the intensity will start to lessen until we see the sun come up and square with Mars. We'll talk about that next week. And the other thing that happens today is that moon moves into Taurus and then it squares with Pluto. And of course, once a month, the moon squares with Pluto, but there can be emotional shifts and changes that happen as a result of that connection. All right. The other big thing today is this. Neptune moves into the sign of Aries for the first time in our lifetimes. And so you've got this watery, emotional planet, which keeps things that are hidden beneath the surface, right? Moves into a fire sign. So now we're talking things that involve fire that are beneath the surface that can come up like volcano action. So I wouldn't be surprised, not all the time, of course, because we've got 14 years, but we'll probably see more lava and magma movement. Did I say that right? Magma? Okay. Going on. And especially when the planet changes signs, like it will here just the day after the eclipse. So there's so much that can change. These outer planets, they affect us differently because they are generational. And 14 years of impact doesn't just happen in one day. But we do get a preview when a planet hits the 0 degree of what that work may be over the next 14 years. And you can look back to when we had Neptune first enter into Pisces and kind of test the theory, right? What was happening in your life? What was happening collectively? And now what's changing? So this now is an emotional connection to the self, right? It can create leaders who are more emotional. It can create leaders who are creative. It can give us leaders who are religious in nature. And it can use those things against us, right? This is the energy that can be deceptive. This can be war, attacks. And the last time we had Neptune in Aries, it was the Civil War. It was 1861. And so it also shows us two sides, what's hidden, what's on the surface. And we have to decide what we're willing to fight for. So it's this unfortunate energy that we're stepping into for the next several months and years, honestly, are tying us back to all different types of wars that we've had throughout history. We're going to have this energy of the Civil Rights War. We have the energy of World War II. We have all of these boundary issues, border agreements, all of these things that happened in the past at different times, for whatever reason, are all happening at once. So we have a lot of intense lessons that we need to remember and learn from the past so that we don't repeat them and instead elevate them. Because I always like to think, if I ruled the world, that, a planet doesn't just come back here and say, oh, I'm here again. Let me just do the same thing I did before, right? What would be the point of that? That would be like you taking a vacation to the same place once every 14 years or whatever, and just doing the same thing every time you go there. It would be boring. So it's energy. Energy needs challenge. It needs to go somewhere. It needs to do something. And I was setting my intentions that it does something different this time. So it can inspire us, right? We can have a leader who's a visionary, who stands up and looks at all of the chaos going on right now and says, there's a better way, right? This is memorable speeches that make an emotional connection, right? I have a dream, right? That energy of the 60s is coming alive again now too. So we have a lot to transition through. And as the outer planets affect the collective, it's what's going on with the larger group that then affects us as individuals. But it doesn't necessarily have a direct impact, but you do want to pay attention here as this energy moves into the sign of Aries for the first time at what kind of an impact it has on you. There will be something changing. Could be, again, a leadership changing. The news on the Pope has gotten very quiet. Will there be a change there? Something's changing. And what I find fascinating is as Neptune moves into Aries, Mercury moves back into Pisces. And so they pass one another by and share a message, right? Mercury's the actual messenger and now goes back to Pisces house and with Neptune's direction knows what it's supposed to be working on, looking for. And so there's a critical message when Mercury sits at 29 degrees, an announcement that will probably be made on Sunday. All right. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about? Gosh, I've been talking so long already. But remember, this is a new beginning. Pisces is the end of things and Aries is the beginning. And so this is something new for all of us to experience. We'll talk more about this next week too, because again, like I said, there's so much information and you can go in and listen to my 2025 presentation because I talked a bit more in detail about the history and things that were going on in history during this time. And so 1861 to 1865, this is the American Civil War. That's the last time Neptune was in Aries. So Doesn't mean it's repeating, but boy, you sure hear it a lot. And does the Civil War mean the same thing today as it meant over 200 years ago? It can, it changes. It looks different. We are definitely fighting. We are definitely divided. There are very clear division of two sides. So, we know who won last time. What's it going to look like this time? Okay, so next week, let's just look ahead real quickly. We will come back together, talk a bit more about the fact of Neptune being in Aries, and then we will talk about the impacts of that. But that's probably the biggest change and shift that goes on next week. And then we're still going to see, speaking of outer planets, this conversation between Mars and Uranus and Saturn. So the shakeups continue, but like controlled chaos is kind of the best way to describe that. So the other thing, of course, is we're going to talk about Mercury coming back to the North Node, coming back with Venus, talking to the North Node. So it's definitely destined events going on, and it's Mercury that will slow down first, ending its retrograde on the 7th, and then Venus on the 12th. So we're back into having faith, looking at healthy boundaries, and looking at what we need to dissolve. So we'll talk about that more next week. Thank you so much for hanging in there and listening. I know it's a long one, but hey, it's a big week ahead, and I want to make sure you are prepared as possible. Of course, you can still book some sessions and come work with me, and we'll make sure that you're fully prepared. So again, website, MaraleeBurnett.com, and go out and read the materials as well. I'm about to post June, and woo, that's an interesting month. It's all interesting. So I will be back next week. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk with you soon. Take care. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this Astrolesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.